Okie dokie, time for another Spiral Abyss guide. We got a new one. And honestly, it is mean. Just absolutely friggin' mean. So the blessing is basically whenever you do a normal attack, you put a mark on the enemy. And the more normal attacks you do within the 3 second span that the mark is active, the more damage the mark will do when it explodes. And I am here to tell you that it is not worth it. Don't bother with the blessing. Trust me, it's not going to help you that much. The damage is not particularly consequential. Okay, so this first floor, 12-1, parts 1 and 2, I actually found pretty easy, personally. They're not too bad. I know some people have had problems with it because of the heralds. It's 2 cryo heralds and 1 hydro herald. And I can see why there is, because when I wasn't doing this original combination that I came up with, it was a pain in the butt because they just kept freezing me. So I can understand why some people don't particularly care for it, but this strategy that I came up with isn't actually too bad, so it kind of works out. This is me trying to remember what everything is while I was doing it. So the initial idea here, and I should clarify because this is going to take me a few seconds. These are tips and guides and whatnot using my characters, obviously, so I can't give you full, like, do this, do that, do this, because I don't have your roster, you don't have my roster, I don't know what characters you have, we have different constellations, whatnot, so this is just generic tips. If you did post your roster on the comments or something, I could give you more in-depth tips, but this is just generic, broad ideas of what worked for me, so might work for you. Okay, so this first one. The idea here is to gather. So you've got the Whopper Flowers, who are a bitch, by the way, if you don't have CC. They just bounce all over the place. The fact that they don't they don't have very good, what's the term I'm looking for? Density isn't exactly right, but the fact that they can easily be knocked around makes them a pain in the ass. So you want CC, Venti, Sucrose, Kazuha, Zhongli kind of works in that regard. In lieu of CC, you want really good AoE, so Nahida also works. Oh, so Mona. Mona's another good CC if you have her. She's one of the standard banners, so it's possible that you have her. As you can see, also Venti and Kazuha, both of their pulls will pull in these robots. So you want CC, it'll group up the Whopper Flowers, and it will group up the robots as well. Jean can also do it. That's another CC. So you just want grouping and AoE. For these, bring Nahida or bring a really good Dendro DPS or of some kind, or fast Dendro application for the Hydro, what's it called? Hydro Herald. And then bring Animo as well, because it will spread around the cryo, so that if you can get them all into their buffed, shielded states at around the same time, you can actually just lock down the Hydro Herald, because you can just keep freezing him with his teammates' cryo shields. And then, bring a decent fire applier for the cryo shields, for the cryo heralds. So I brought Bennett, as you can see. All he's going to do is he's going to drop his elemental burst, which will infuse my characters with pyro, and he can just DPS them down with that. You can just break the shields with that. So as you can see, you can get through them pretty quickly, and I brought Nahida because, more damage, spread out the damage with her elemental skill. That means you can knock them all down at relatively the same rate. And then Dendro is the best for breaking through Hydro Heralds. And then obviously Pyro is the best for breaking through Cryo. So that's pretty easy. Alright. Now, this second one took me a bit, I will admit. It was a bit more complicated. And to be fair, it's all because of the second boss, which is the Thundering Manifestation, which is, I've got to say, one of the worst bosses to put into Spiral Abyss. I think it's third as my least favorite. It's the Rune Serpent is the worst, followed by the Sandworm, the Weenut, and then the Thundering Manifestation, because they just moves so much. Okay, so with the Dendro Chicken, you want to bring one Dendro, one Electro, at the very least, to knock him into his wounded state, or his stunned state, because his resistances drop. And then obviously you avoid all of the abilities and whatnot. And he stays in this for a pretty decent amount of time. So you want to knock him into his stunned state and just go ham on him. So bring an Electro character, and if the Electro character happens to be a really good DPS, then yay. And a Dendro character to support them. But in general, you want if you don't have a strong Dendro or Electro main damage character, but you have decent support ones, that's fine. Bring a strong single target DPS. Obviously, A can do multi-target, but she can just do any DPS, it doesn't really matter. But strong DPS target that you can buff up, because you have that limited window where the Dendro Chicken's resistances are lowered, and you want to make the best of that, so you just blast right through it. Okay. This fucker. You want someone who can chase. I tried it with Nahida. Her attacks too often would miss because they're stuck on the ground. I tried it with Yanfei. Yeah, Yanfei. She just didn't do enough damage. So I brought the Wanderer because his attacks are pretty long ranged. He can chase really well, and as you can see, I brought Nahida as well. So since her elemental skills proccing the Mark of Skara, or whatever it's called, procs every time an elemental reaction happens, doesn't matter what the elemental reaction is, just as long as it happens, he procs it with his animo damage, because the Thundering Manifestation is all Electro, so he's doing swirl Electro damage, which, obviously he doesn't, the boss doesn't take Electro damage, but it does proc the Mark of Skara, which will then deal Dendro damage, and since the Thundering Manifestation is Electro, will of course gain the benefits of Spread, because it's a Dendro damage. So, and then of course I have double shields to protect the Wanderer while he does this, so he can just damage, and not care. And then of course more Dendro damage from the more Dendro spread damage from Baizu's shield, which, if you didn't know, one of his passives increases the amount of damage that spread does. So, based off his HP. So that adds more to it. So it's a combination, it was a combination in that case of decent, strong animo damage, and then boom, boom, boom every, 1.7 seconds from Nahida. Actually, no, I didn't have any Electro people in the team, so it would be more like every 2 seconds, but still, you get the point. Okay. This one. This fucking fight. God, I hated it. I tried really, really hard to use the blessing. I brought in Ayato, I brought in Ayaka, I brought in a whole bunch of normal attack-based characters that did attacks really fast. It did not work. It is a pain in the ass to try and use the technique on these consecrated beasts. It sucks. Do this instead. Lock them down. If you have Zhongli, this makes it so much easier. If you have the 3 Archons that are in the team, obviously it makes it a ton easier. But if you, out of all 3 of them, if you have Zhongli, it makes it a hell of a lot easier, because you can just ultimate them, or elemental burst them, and keep them in place for a really long time. You need to lock them down, and then go ham. Observe. It's pretty easy. Start with the, go to the side of the water consecrated beast, the Hydro consecrated beast, because it will, the Dendro one will jump to you. The Hydro one will most likely either go into the water, like swim towards you, which takes a while, or it will throw ranged attacks at you. So go to the side of the Hydro beast so that you can get both of them together faster. Anyway, lock them down as best you can, and then go ham. So, as you can see, I've got Baiju and Nahida. Both of them can strongly enhance elemental... Nahida enhances elemental mastery, Baiju enhances spread damage. So it's all... or actually, in this case, it'd be aggravate damage. So it is just all about doing as much damage as you can, as fast as you can. Oh, wait, no, this is a different one. Sorry. This is an old standard. I'm so sorry. It's Bennett. So it's he just adds attack damage. So it's still the same basic premise of doing as much damage as possible, but it's not based off of spread so much as it is just upping the Raiden Shogun's natural attacks. Okay, so in this one, this is not that bad, actually. It's just a little time consuming. It's all about timing. You just have to make sure that you get your timings right. So as you notice, let's go. So, I mean, you can just watch it. I don't know how to properly explain it, but it's just, you need to get all your timings right so that you can knock down the shields as quick as possible and then go ham. So you want, as you can see, I used Yelan's elemental burst while she was breaking down the shield. And I used it, and I was able to break down the shields fast enough that I was able to use, or to gain the benefits of her elemental burst while Hu Tao was attacking. So I got the vaporized damage. And, see. And then I was able to get it so that I had more elemental damage, or I had elemental mastery buff from Kazuha's burst, plus his elemental damage buff from his elemental skill, all going towards Pyro, and then I had some more of the vaporized damage coming in from Yelan, and it all worked in with Hu Tao. So it's all about timing. You have to get your timings right, knock down the shields as fast as possible, and then have everything set up so that you could just go ham on the boss while you have that brief window of opportunity after you break all shields while it's stunned. That boss is easy. It's just work on your timings, you're great. As long as you have enough time left over from dealing with the consecrated beasts, you're good. The consecrated beasts are the problems. Are the problem. Yeah, well, problems, fine, there's 4 of them. You need to lock them down as best you can, Cryo or freeze doesn't really work because they have what is it? A 50% freeze reduction, so they stay frozen for 50% less time. So, I mean, if you have Ganyu and Ayato, maybe you can keep them frozen, but because they create such big spaces. But if you don't have that, Zhongli really does work to keep them locked down. That's the best option in my personal opinion. And then just buff your damage dealer to hell and back. And just go ham. Hit them as hard as you can. And don't try to deal with the blessing because it's just not a lot of damage. It's like 19,000 at the most. That's just it. So, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.